Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Roadmaster Baseplate kit with removable arms on our 2012 Honda CR-V. So there's going to be a total of 5 main components needed to flat tow your Honda down the road safely. First one's going to be your baseplate, and that's going to provide us with a solid and reliable connection point. That way we can hook our tow bar up. And the tow bar is going to be the second component. And this is going to be the physical link that actually connects the front of your Honda to the back of your motorhome. The third main component is going to be safety cables. And these are there in the event of an unlikely disconnect. These are going to keep everything paired together. The fourth main component is going to be tow bar wiring. And what this is going to do is transfer the lighting functions from the back of your coach to the back of your SUV, keeping you safe and legal. And last but not least, the fifth main component is going to be a supplemental braking system. And what this is going to do is apply the brakes in your CR-V whenever you hit the brakes in your motorhome, helping bring you to a more predictable and complete stop. This is what your CR-V is going to look like whenever you have it set up to tow behind the motorhome. And I think it's a pretty good setup, actually. Everything is nice and organized, and you know, has a really clean look to it, and that's important actually, you know, because whenever you look back here, it's nice to see, you know, you can take a quick glance and know all your components look good and everything else. So it's always nice to be able to keep an eye on things. With that said, because of that design, you know, everything's super easy to get to and set up. So you're not going to spend and waste a bunch of time trying to get things figured out back here. You know, so you get it together quick, you get on the road and go enjoy yourself. So this is what your baseplate's going to look like on the front of your Honda whenever you're not towing it behind your motorhome. And honestly, I think it looks really good. They did a great job at designing this. We have these factory openings here in the bottom of our grill, and this is where our baseplate actually comes out through. So it kind of looks right at home there. You know what I mean? It's really easy to get to and everything else. And I also like the fact that they give you a bracket there so you can mount up your wiring. Just makes it a lot more convenient and, you know, organized and easy to get to. Since the base plate uses these removable arms whenever you are ready to flat tow behind your motorhome, it's going to be a really easy setup. And that's something that's really important with these flat tow deals. You know, you don't want to spend a bunch of time messing around with them. You just want to get them hooked up and get on the road. And with these, you're simply just going to take it, slide it into the base plate, rotate it about a quarter turn, and that's actually going to lock that arm in. And it'll be the same setup over here for this side. So once you're ready to actually hook your CR-V up, it's going to be just as easy as putting those arms in. You know, of course, you get your other components going. You're going to take your tow bar, line up the end of it. With that, you're going to take the pin, push that through and lock it down. So literally just a few step process. Take your safety cable and put that around the base plate. So like I was saying, a few step process and you're good to go. Doesn't really get much easier than this. I will say the base plate is going to work with most Roadmaster tow bars, and if you happen to have a different type of tow bar, chances are pretty good you're still going to be able to use it by picking up an adapter that you can put on the end of the tow bar. And you can find that here at eTrailer. So at the end of the day, a base plate you really can't go wrong with. You know, not only is it going to look good, but it's also going to work with a lot of different tow bars and be simple to set up. Now, as far as the installation goes, it's really not too bad. It's not the easiest base plate that I've put on, but definitely not the hardest either. And this can definitely be done, you know, on the ground. You don't have to have a lift or anything like this. Anything like that to get this job done. But with that said, why don't we go ahead, pull into the garage and put it on together now. To begin our install, we're going to be here at the front of our Honda, and we need to remove the front fascia. That way we can have the space we need to get our base plate on. And so if you look along this edge here, we're going to have 4 push pin type fasteners just like this. With these, you can get a flathead screwdriver, kind of pry underneath them, work that whole fastener out. I'll do these 2 here in the middle and get this last one over here. Now if you look on this edge in front of our front tires, we're going to have 2 fasteners. One of them will be this plastic push pin type, just like the others. We'll kind of work that out. Sometimes these can be kind of tough with all the dirt and stuff that's in them, so just take your time. Try not to chew that fastener up too bad. That way we can reuse it. And there's also going to be a 10mm bolt. Sometimes these can get stuck in there and kind of pull through the plastic on the inside. We'll see if that's the case with this one. This one came out. If yours just keeps spinning and spinning and spinning, chances are pretty good it kind of pulled through the plastic. And not a huge deal if that happens. Just leave it in there and we'll kind of work from there. With that said, we'll do the same thing over on the other side of our vehicle. Now if you look in the center here of our fascia along this edge, we'll have 4 more push pin type fasteners. Go ahead and get all of these removed. If you move to the front edge of our wheel well, we're going to have 3 fasteners. One down here will be a regular Phillips head screw. So we'll go ahead and get this one pulled out. And I want to mention, from this point on, anything we do to one side of the vehicle, we're also going to do to the other side. It'll be set up the same way. Go ahead and get this out. We're going to have 2 push pin fasteners that are similar to the other ones. These just have a larger head. For these, I'm going to use a trim panel tool, but that flathead screwdriver will still work. Get underneath the head of them and pop them out. The other one's way up here. Go ahead and do the same thing. Back to our wheel wells. It helps if you turn your steering wheel, that way your tires move in, that way it gives you some more room. But you can take that fender liner and simply just peel it back. And if you look right here, inside a little bit, it's going to be a plastic fastener. And we're going to remove that. So I actually just pushed up on it from the bottom. Not a ton of room in here. And I'll just pull it out like so. Now what we can do is kind of pull this down and separate it from this trim piece here. And this we're just going to work up, kind of just carefully pop it out. And that's going to expose a Phillips head screw. Let's go ahead, grab our bit and get that pulled out. Now we need to remove our grill here. And with this one, what you're going to do is grab it and firmly pull straight back on it, and it's going to release the clips. So that's going to take a little bit of effort. What I like to do is just kind of, work it a little bit first, try to loosen some things up. Hopefully that'll make it a little easier. I'm just going to grab the center piece here. Got one more maybe holding this up. And we have it released. And if we look, we see all these yellow tabs. That's what was holding the grill on. So you can see, for example, those little squares there plug into those tabs. And so that's why it takes some force. And, it's designed to do that. Once you pull straight back on it, we can set it to the side. Now with an extra set of hands, we can actually get our fascia removed. And what you're going to do is start here in the corner, and you're just going to carefully kind of lift up and out on it. That's going to release these tabs here. And then if you kind of pull down and out under the headlight, there's going to be some tabs as well. And what I found, you can take a trim tool and kind of just lift up on those tabs while you're pulling out. That'll help it release. Once you get to there, we'll have one more. So this yellow one, you're gonna kind of push down on the middle of it. And while you're doing that, pull out. And so once this comes off, you may have some wiring. In our case, we have a fog light on each side, so you'll push down on the middle of that tab, pop it out, and once this is released, we'll set it off to the side somewhere safe. Now what we need to do, we're gonna have a fastener attaching this plastic air dam piece to the bumper beam. We're just gonna remove that. These things are super brittle. If they break like that one did, not a huge deal. We're not going to be reusing them anyway. And then if we come down here to the bottom, we're going to have this sensor and the wiring that runs to it connected to our bumper beam. And we need to remove all this as well. So we'll simply just pry those out. And one more here. We can just take our wiring and kind of tuck it off to the side for now. Now we can remove our bumper beam. We're going to have four 12mm head fasteners on each side of the bumper beam, holding it on. One of them will be on the top. So for this one, I'll grab a wrench, get it removed since we don't have a ton of space up here. And the rest of them are going to be along the edge. So one there, one on the bottom, one kind of on the inside. So I'll grab a socket and an extension. And pulled out. To get to this one, you can actually just take that extension and run it through your bumper beam. I already got the other side removed here. Now we can just lift up on the bumper beam, work it out, and set it to the side. Now on each side of our vehicle here, we have this plastic air dam, and we're going to need to trim this out according to the diagram and the instructions. And so I just kind of drew where we're going to be cutting here. And I'm just going to use a pair of snips to remove this material. And the reason we're doing this is that way our base plate will have the clearance it needs and won't interfere with this here. Continue to get this cut. Little trim there. Just like that. If you look on our frame rail here, where our bumper beam is bolted to, on the top, you can see there's a small tab that's kind of pointing upwards. We need to flatten that out, and I'm just going to grab a pair of pliers here. Just kind of smash that down until it's flat. Now you can grab our base plate and get this into position. Make sure we clear everything. Base plate's going to line up with the bumper beam attachment points from earlier. And then we're going to get 4 of these bolts started. So on those original bumper beam attachment points, you're going to take a bolt, split lock washer and a flat washer, put on a drop of red Loctite, and all of the bolts that we're going to use to secure the base plate are going to receive some of that red Loctite. And you can grab that here etrailer. So we'll just get all these going on each side. That way the base plate will support itself. Just kind of a pointer over here on the passenger side. You're going to have this AC line that runs through here. So when you're putting this in, you know, make sure to clear that, and you're not going to interfere with it. If you have to bend it just a little bit, that's okay, but don't get too carried away because these can break pretty easy, so something just to keep in mind. Once the hardware is in place and hand tight, we'll come back with a 13mm and snug them down. Over here, just on the driver's side, if you take your fender liner and push it back out of the way, that'll expose this bolt right here, and it's a ground, so it's holding some wires down. We're gonna relocate that. So we're gonna take a 10mm socket and pull it out. And once you have that bolt, just going to take the wires and move them up here. So kind of bend that. Like so. Simply just reinstall that bolt. Now what we can do is get one last bolt into our base plate, but we got to do a little prep before that. And we want to make sure to do one side at a time, start to finish. And that's because this factory bolt here, this is holding in part of our subframe. We need to remove that. So I'm going to use a 17mm socket to do it. Now you don't have to do this, but you know, just an extra precaution, what I've done is took a jack here and just place it under our subframe, give it a little extra support since this bolt will be removed. But with that said, we'll take our 17mm and get this bolt completely removed. So now if you look right here on our base plate, there's going to be a hole. We're going to use that as a template. That way we can drill through our metal here. And there will be two thin pieces, this piece and then a piece, you know, on the back side is this portion of our frame is a hollow square tube. You need to go through both of those. Not a bad idea to check behind there, make sure you're clear from any wires or anything like that. And we're in pretty good shape, so we'll take our drill and get this opened up. Once the hole is created, we're going to take this big bolt, put on your red Loctite, and push that bolt through. So on the back side, you can see where that bolt comes out of the other side of our frame. What you're going to do is take this big plate washer and slide that over the end of it. I'm going to grab a split lock washer, put that on, and then a hex nut. Go ahead, get this hand tight. We'll come back and snug it down. So we'll tighten everything down using a 19mm socket and open and wrench. And once we have that bolt tightened up, we'll come back, take our factory subframe bolt, and get this tightened down as well. I do want to point something out. Whenever you run this down, you want to make sure that it gets tightened down completely, because sometimes what can happen is the bolt can actually interfere with that new bolt that we put in. that does happen, you can cut the tip off of the factory subframe bolt, give you some more clearance, but most times it's something you're not going to have to worry about, but something I definitely just wanted to mention. So once you have the other side put together, then we can come back with a torque wrench and tighten down all of the hardware to the amount specified in the instructions. If you don't have a torque wrench, you can always pick one up here at eTrailer, or a lot of times you can also go to your local auto parts stores and they'll have one available to rent. So that's always an option for you as well. Now I went ahead and resecured our air temperature sensor, which is this here. This was originally connected to our bumper beam. There's actually a hole there in our plastic air dam that you're able just to push that connector up through there and hold it in place. Now at this point, it'd be a great opportunity to install some of your other flat towing components like a braking system and wiring, for example. And I say that because with the fascia off, we're gonna have all this extra room to work. It just makes things a lot easier. If you already have those components installed, or let's say you're not doing them just yet, you would simply reinstall the fascia the opposite way that you removed it. So now that we have our flat tow components installed, we'll go ahead and take our fascia and reinstall it the opposite way that we removed it. Don't forget to plug your electrical connectors in if you had any. So I already plugged our fog lights in there. And we're simply just going to line everything back up and re-secure it. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Roadmaster baseplate kit with removable arms on our 2012 Honda CR-V.